Hey builders, Brick Radiop here with a brand new custom Lego review. This is a very cool international figure. See, wrapped up in some nice tissue paper to protect them. And it's a video game that just had a show. Being The Last of Us, we have Joel. And of course, we have Ellie. Based on the packaging, it is part of the Jaka Light line, which means that they are a bit cheaper. So less print. You can see that the pair of them is called the Apocalypse Duo to avoid copyright stuff. You can see the packaging compared to their Ernest Lawyer, Saul Goodman, that I reviewed a while ago. Same sort of deal, where you don't have to damage the card. It actually just slides up from the package. You can get the figures out. And I really appreciate that design. It saves the packaging, like I said, in a lot of my other reviews. If you don't have a display case or something for your figures, it's nice to have them somewhere more secure so they don't get lost. On the back, just some information about Jaka Brick, their Instagram. All of these figures are going to be pad printed just like Lego. The torso and legs and heads are going to be official Lego, but the hair pieces are going to be custom molded. Excited to see those closer up. And let's crack these out of the packaging and get them on the stand. Starting off, let's look at Ellie, who has dark blue short legs, no printing on them. Their jacket, which I think is printed on olive. The back, you can see a little bit of a hood there that's in darker red, which, you know, just continues the print on the front. Just a generic t-shirt. I think that's kind of where the disappointment for these figures comes for me, is that they're not their more iconic looks that are from the video games, which appeared in the shows even. And if I remember right, the looks for these figures were based on like the first and second episode of the show. So if they started designing them as soon as the show started coming out, I guess that makes sense why they would go with these looks. But these just seem kind of generic. Taking a look at that face print though, you can see that she does have a bit of her eyebrow missing, just like in the show and the game. And this custom molded hairpiece is pretty cool. If you'd watched my previous Jaka 2-pack review with the Wolverine set from Logan, I complained that this hairpiece is way too tight and impossible to get off. But for this one, you know, it is still kind of tight. Probably need two hands to do it effectively, but it does come off. I would say actually that wasn't tight at all. Pretty easy with two hands. One hand, it's a little hard. But I would say that, ooh, these hair strands are a little thin. You're definitely going to want to be careful with this, otherwise it might break. But you know what, a pretty cool figure. For the price, it would have been nice to have an accessory, like a brick arms gun or something, which was my complaint from the Saul Goodman figure as well. And I'll just throw on these boots quick from X23 just to see what that looks like. And the wash of the jeans is probably a little too bright, but that adds a little bit of extra detail. And I've seen people post pictures of her with the Harry Potter like mid legs instead of these shorter ones, and I do think that would have been a better look. I'll have to get some of those down the line so I can upgrade this figure to that. Just because I do want to keep these boots on X23 just because it fits that character a lot more. But you know what, there are some cool pieces here. The hairpiece is interesting and very unique. Let's jump on into Joel. And for this Pedro Pascal figure, it's kind of fun to get him. You know, we do technically have his face print on the newer Mandalorian figures, but I don't know, Lego's likeness for actors isn't always the perfect representation of them. And I might even say the same thing here. That was kind of my, on not getting these, was that to me, they don't match the characters from the show perfectly, and that the outfits that they're wearing aren't necessarily the most iconic look for them, but it is a great jacket print again with some wrinkles. The buttons are really finely detailed. Back, you know, pretty generic, what Lego would probably do themselves. The beard detailing is actually kind of fun, where it has like some different splotches. It's not just like a solid beard. That's something that Lego does a lot. And this face is really good. It's probably a little bit too much of a combination of the video game and the show, where it's not 100% the Pedro Pascal look, but it does the job. Older guy that's grumpy, Apocalypse. I'll say that his mouth kind of blends in with the mustache a bit, but you can kind of see in the right lighting conditions. I'll say the same thing for him as Ellie, where the legs being unprinted kind of does him a disservice. I want to try throwing on these legs from the Citizen Brick 2-pack figure quick. And while the leg color is the right shade. These boots are probably a little too bright. If they were a brown, I think it would look a lot better. But probably just getting some jean printing on here of some sort would just liven up this figure a bit, or just even a belt. Just because, you know, if there's no accessories, the legs aren't printed, this just kind of ends up being of a figure. Definitely have to figure out some good brick arms to get to accessorize these figures a bit more and make them more interesting. This is a bit of a late addition to the review, but I think one of the areas that could be improved, and a lot of people thought the same thing, is that they should have backpacks. That's an important thing in a lot of zombie survival sort of scenarios, is having something to carry things in. I was able to purchase these 3D printed backpacks from Brick Cinema on Instagram. They have some really great detail and are going to join my long line of 3D printed parts that'll never get painted. But as soon as I get around to that, these are going to be a great extra little bit of detail that these figures have definitely been missing. I know that Input Bricks, Input Minifigs, formerly known as Nate's Minifigs, has made some different molds for clickers and all that, so I might have to look into getting those and painting those up to go with these figures, just to make it a bit more interesting, just because where they are right now, it's just two generic people. There's no really wear or tear to their clothing, no blood stains or anything, and no alternative faces, which I think is a bit disappointing for these figures being still pretty expensive for a light line. Even Saul Goodman had an alternative face, so disappointing to see that not happen for either of these two figures. But let's get on into the final verdict. With the two upgraded versions of these characters on the stand here, I think just goes to show that that little bit of extra printing goes a long way to add a little bit more life to these, especially in the case that they don't have any accessories that come with them. I think that adds a lot to the disappointment for me on these figures. I think the printing that is there is pretty good. The custom hair pieces definitely work for the characters as well. But I don't know, maybe I'm just a little too spoiled by the more widely available figures that come out with higher quantities, so they can justify more print or having accessories. I think just the bare minimum of having some brick arms with these would have added just more value and probably wouldn't have affected the price that much. I think if you can upgrade these in some ways, especially in the leg area, and like I mentioned, weapons of some sort, it adds a lot, makes them a better value, makes them look cooler and better. Because right now where they're at, they're just two random people. Nothing about them really even screams zombie apocalypse right now. So that's a bit disappointing. I'm excited just throwing on one more figure to have a little bit of a Sony Lego figure collection here with a couple different video game characters from their franchises. In addition to the three here, I also have Kratos up for pre-order from Bagels, and I think Core Figs in their PS4 Spider-Man suit. So I'm excited to expand this little PlayStation roster here. I'd love to get Nathan Drake. I know Lifebrick has done them in the past, but to come by one of those on the aftermarket. And I would love to see Ratchet and Clank. I think that would be a really cool figure for somebody to tackle. But for now, it's kind of fun to just have some characters like this from, especially these two, from a franchise that Lego would never do. But you'd probably say that even about Horizon Zero Dawn. It seems a little out there. And maybe in the future, Lego will push into more video game topics. They've done Mario and Sonic now, so who knows? If you want to see more custom Lego videos, check out all the other ones on my channel. I've been Brick Radiop, and I'll see you in the next video.